Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morgan, the Motor City Madmouth. Glad to have you with us. What a great week we've had in terms of content. Now we have the regular crew back on tonight. Nevertheless, Candy Ebling did a great job filling in for me last week as the lead host. Also, kudos to JD White, who came on short notice to help us out. And Penman did a good job. Joe and I were on the disabled list for that night. Joe dealing with some dental issues, and me, I simply lost my voice. My goodness, when that happens, is that a holiday? I don't know, but I'm back. You see, it does work today. It does a little time. So.
I had big shoes to fill. I don't know that I filled them admirably, but I did okay.
Also, I want to let everybody know out there that we're going to be releasing a show probably sometime tonight or tomorrow called The Wounded Warriors. Candy, why don't you let everybody know what they can expect out of this particular show that we did over at the Super Bowl? What a great interview we had.
Well, as you all know, the NFL really supports the veterans. And so we talked to two veterans that talked about their relationship. They're a married couple, about what they went through as one of them was very depressed, and how programs that the NFL helps sponsors helped her and them and their marriage and basically saved her, because she was on the verge of committing suicide. So we got to sit down and talk with them, and it was just a really enlightening, really it's sad because obviously there are so many people out there that have mental illnesses and are depressed and suicidal, but it's great to see that the NFL supports programs that help the military and veterans. And so we'll be releasing that video probably later tonight, otherwise early tomorrow morning. So go check out our website and look for it.
There you go. I really had a lot of fun doing that. You know, Joe, that was one of those interviews that I can tell you right now that I was hanging around Radio Row and came across this lady named Gracie, and she was a real sweetheart. And then we set it up the very next day, and it was unbelievable. Hope everybody can go out there and take a look at it when we get it out there. It will be released. Anyways, let's focus on the task at hand here. Reggie Miller returns to NBC. My goodness. We'll lead off with this topic. Reggie will call games as the lead NBA NBC color commentator alongside of Mike Tirico as well as Noah Eagle. So, Joe, what are your thoughts about Reggie at NBC?
Reggie the heartbreaker. 8 seconds of terror. Ruined the season in 8 seconds. But I love him either way. He's got such great personality. Good for him. You know, I think it's a good hire. You want to have personalities on your broadcast. And former players like Barkley, Miller, unfortunately passing too soon, Bill Walton, Shaq, guys like that, draw people in. So, and Reggie knows the game. Although he's not the best player in the family, Cheryl still is. I think it's a good hire, and I think it's good for NBC. Smart move.
How about you, Penman?
Yeah, he's a good mixture of people. You like to add new people. It's good to have Reggie come on back in NBC where he belongs. He shouldn't have left NBC, so it's good for NBC's hire.
Candy?
I always like it when you have intelligent former players of the sport on the commentary, because they can give you insights that maybe me, who have never played men's basketball, can give you and tell you. And so I really enjoy listening to them. Good. Kudos to NBC for hiring Reggie. He's been an analyst for over 20 years. So he called his 18th All-Star game this past weekend. Now I get, or the weekend before, how many people were really listening to the NBA All-Star game, but still, it's an accomplishment to do it for that many years in a row.
I had an opportunity. I actually met Reggie Miller over at the Palace of Auburn Hills. Remember the Indiana Pacers? Talked to him. One of the most level-headed guys on the planet. And, I can tell you this right now about Reggie. What he did for TNT is unbelievable. He's ready for this role on NBC. I'm glad NBC's getting the game back. And everybody knows full well that at Market Square Arena, in Madison Square Garden. There's no lost between him and Spike Lee and those New York fans, is there? There really isn't. So good luck, Reggie. I know you're going to do great. Glad we let out the show with it. Okay, agree or disagree? How much March Madness is more fun to watch than the NBA playoffs? All right, Joe, what do you think?
Totally different situation. March Madness is a one and done, which makes it exciting. The NBA playoffs take too long. If they condensed it a little bit, I think they're just as exciting. Just a different type of sport. I don't consider NBA basketball or college basketball the same in any respect. They're completely different sports, even though the object is the same of getting the ball into the basket. I don't equate the two, but I think they're both fun. But if I had to choose, I'd go with March Madness.
Candy?
You're muted, Candy.
Sorry about that. March Madness every day of the week. I love March Madness, but I think there's an excitement to the college game. Like JB said, you're one and done. You see these Cinderella teams that come in out of nowhere that are ranked, a 5-12 and the 12 beats the 5 so I enjoy the game of college more than I do the NBA. Just me.
You know what?
Yep.
I'm March Madness all the way. And I'll tell you why. JB Ellis said it. NBA playoffs are too long. They really are. They almost drag out, 2 some months? And what's the NBA regular season? Like 6? You need to tell me that you need load management? You really need load management to be able to play these games longer? I'm not buying it. No way. You know what, Candy? Do a station break.
Pensman's got to go. Pensman's got to
go ahead.
I like March Madness because you could get a Harvard, Stanford when Seth Curry was playing, and you could be, and I'm a Duke fan, but you could get a Stanford playing Duke, and Stanford could win, and your bracket will be gone. The NBA playoffs are too long. They go so far. It's just, and the NBA, it's starting to draw back. Everybody's just not interested anymore. So I'll take March Madness any day.
All right. Go to the chat room. Brian Pettit, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it, big guy. And hope we'll see more people. One thing about our shows is they take a little while to get people in here, but the crowd begin to pick up as time goes on. You know what, Candy? We'll wait on the station break. And JB and I are going to talk about this one on our own. We're going to revisit Daniel Jones for the Pittsburgh Steelers. JB, think it's a good fit?
So, as the Giant fan of the group, I don't think Daniel Jones is a good fit anywhere except as a backup. I think the other guy from Minnesota, Sam Darnold, would be a great fit, or Matthew Stafford would be a great fit. There's a lot better out there. I'd like to see Tomlin have a top-rate quarterback to see what he can do. This way, I could see if I'm joining the team that says fire him, or I'm going to stay where I am when he actually does well with a good quarterback.
I just see it as a fallback option. If all else fails, bring in Daniel. I've always thought from the beginning, and I'll say it now, right, for you, Joe, and everybody else, Aaron Rodgers is a better fit in Pittsburgh than anybody thinks that he is. I really do believe he will. My reasons for that is Aaron Rodgers, to me, you give him a bunch of good receivers and a winning culture, and we have Mike Tomlin controlling he can deal with the social media and the drama, he'll be fine. I like Aaron Rodgers there. I don't think that's where he's going to wind up. My gut feeling is if LA leaves, he leaves for LA, then as far as I'm concerned, Aaron Rodgers will wind up there. So let's go back to Brian Pettit. I like March Madness because you never know who's going to win, and it could be a small town team. No question about that. That's a good point, Brian. Thank you so much. Leave that up there for a minute, Candy. I really like that. You talk about the one tournament that allows underdogs to flourish. March Madness is definitely it. Brian Pettit, ever heard of the word bullseye? You just nailed it, pal. Thank you very much. So there you have it. So as far as Daniel Jones, I think his best option, believe it or not, is to stay in Minnesota if he gets nowhere else, because I think Sam Darnold will be too expensive for the Vikings to keep, knowing you have J.J. McCarthy there. that's why I think the Vikings brought him in there. And Kevin O'Connell could definitely go out there and have quarterback. But since JB and I were not on last week's show, I thought we'd go out there and take a shot at it. But now we're not going to hesitate to go to the station break. Go ahead, Ken.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the media industry and how it has changed. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. If you listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you like to read stories and articles and a plethora of great stuff, go to our website. Monday nights, we talk baseball. Tuesday nights, we talk football. Wednesday and Thursday nights, you just never know what you're going to get. So tune in to find out. If you want to advertise, call Scott, 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas or show ideas, email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to you, Scott.
Katie, I want to give the audience a summary of what we've done so far. Yeah, NeuroGuard Plus is a pretty interesting guy. Why don't you go over that show a little bit more?
Monday night, we had Dr. Michael, I forget his last name. Hutchinson. Yes, and he invented a mouth guard that will help take any hits. And instead of when you get hit, the vibrations move up into your brain, this actually takes them down your jaw and down. So you're less likely to get concussions. It's decreased concussions by it's an astronomical amount. And he sells them to anybody. But he sells them to a lot of sports participants, but it can be even people that aren't sports participants. And he's based out of Traverse City, Michigan. So Scott and him talked a little bit about Michigan, and then we talked a lot about the mouth guard because it helps keep your mouth in place. So go check it out.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that Michigan conversation, Joe and Pensman? We're talking about the Bear, the golf course that Jack Nicklaus designed. And we were kibitzing around about that whole thing. And it was, if you ever go to the Grand Traverse Resort out in Traverse City and play the Bear, you'll lose more golf balls than you can imagine. In my opinion, you better have an American Express card is what you better have, because you're going to need a lot of golf balls. It got so bad that after the fifth hole, my brother Lonnie and I, then we had a bunch of friends, we had to pair up in teams just to get to the round of 18. Then we had to play best ball. It was the most, as if golf wasn't frustrating enough. And I never underestimate golf, because that's the one sport that will humble you like no other sport. So anybody that can play it is one thing. Even my date, Big Bertha, wasn't able to bail me out of that jackpot I was in. You have to hit that thing far and strong, but every time it's in the rough, it is really, really, really rough. The Bear, Jack Nicklaus in Traverse City, check it out. If you're bald, you won't lose any hair. If you have hair, it turns gray after a round. And if you're smart,
that game will tear you apart too.
Yeah, but that course will tear you apart to the 10th power. And I don't know a lot about math, but I know the 10th power is a powerful situation. So check out the Bear, Grand Traverse Resort. Special shout out to Mike Hutchinson, Dr. Michael Hutchinson. What a great job. And he's going to definitely go out there and be a contributor. I know Candy's talking about bringing him on Three Chicks in a Pod, right? Scott, did you lose that whole bag of golf balls? You know what, Brian? I had to depend on my other ones. Yeah, mine were all gone. They were gone really quick. So, Brian, I like the way your name is spelled, Bryan. That's the same way I spell my middle name too, pal. Thanks. So we have two Brians, my middle name, and this guy's first name, Pettit. Very loyal friend of our show. Brian, can't be happier to have you on, pal. And keep up the great questions. You're definitely the unofficial fifth person on the show for sure. So, yeah, did I lose a whole bag of golf balls? Let's put it this way. I had to buy new ones. And I had to depend on my other cohorts to be able to finish us off. We had a good time. It was really rough stuff. But we're going to go on to something that's a little bit rougher for the Dallas Mavericks, and boy, is it ever. Now, it's one thing to talk about drama, but this takes it to an all new level. And here's what I'm talking about. The Dallas Mavericks had issues with Luka Doncic. Social habits like smoking hookah, I don't even know what that is, and drinking beer. That came from the score. And now the Mavericks were never going to actually offer Doncic a 5-year, $345 million supermax trade to the Lakers. There's a couple different angles, Joe, on this. Let's talk about the first part, and then you can go into the second, and then I'll move it around.
So
do you know what hookah is?
yeah, it's a long type thing that's connected to a machine. It's weird. Never done it. Have no desire to do it. But if it works for Luka, he's the best player in the game right now. Or one of the top players. I mean, that's debatable if he's the best. But, if you're worried about a guy's, conditioning and you're going to trade him, you don't trade him for a guy who gets hurt by stepping on the court.
Right.
Anthony Davis could be one of the greatest players in NBA history, but he is always hurt, and in the weirdest ways. I mean, he had an ear injury one day from God only knows what. He has, I don't know, just very strange injuries. I refer to him as Glass Joe. It's a shame because he has so much talent, and, he just can't stay on the court. Now, in an ideal world where Anthony Davis is healthy and can play 82 games a year, it's not a horrible trade. But the fact that he's going to be hurt and miss a ton of time, you're trading Luka because you're worried about his off the court habits and how he prepares to be ready for games, when all he's done is shown how good he is, that's asinine.
Now, second part of the question, Joe. A max contract, $345 million. What's your response to that?
Listen, you play to win the game. You want the best players. He deserves the max contract by his performance. So he drinks beers and he smokes the hookah. Who cares? As long as he goes out and performs. I mean, there are guys in the NBA that get paid tons of money that don't perform. So, I just think it was a bad move all around. And the PR, from the way they handled it, from Mark Cuban throwing people out of the arena, the security throwing people out for chanting Fire Nico and having Fire Nico signs, just a disgrace. The Dallas Mavericks used to be a class organization. This, to me, was totally disgraceful and horrible the way that they handled this from start to end.
So let me ask you a question, Joe. Do you think Mark Cuban would have ever traded Luka Doncic?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think, he was about winning. He wasn't about making money. He was about having his team be the best team they could be. He kind of like a George Steinbrenner type-esque owner, without doing crazy things because you can't in the NBA because of the salary cap. But he was about winning. Where the new owners, they have different goals in mind. I don't know what the goals are when you trade the best player or one of the best players in the sport for a guy who can't stay on the court. Just bad. It's a bad look.
Sure is. Well, keep in mind, Rick Carlisle won a championship, and Cuban stayed with him for a while. So for those of you that want to know about who won the championship, in fact, the one guy that I remember going back in the past with, that built that organization from scratch, it doesn't get mentioned much. If we go back to our old show, Joe Basket Bros, how about the name Dick Motta? Dick Motta was one of the best coaches I've ever seen. And I got to know him pretty well when he was a commentator for the Detroit Pistons. And Dick Motta, God love you. He was just great to work with when I was a member of the media. All right, Penman, you heard a lot from Joe and I. What's your take on it?
I don't know what the Dallas Mavericks are doing, but Dallas Mavericks used to be one of the top teams in the NBA. They had Dirk Nowitzki, and they had all those good players, and they had Rick Carlisle as coach, and he was a get-your-face coach, kind of like Bill Cowher was with us. And if you did something wrong, he would tell you instantly what you did wrong. He would bench players. That was like, you got to win now mode. What Mark Cuban is doing right now, I don't know. ESPN said the other day that the Lakers' job right now is to keep Luka in LA, and it's up to them to keep them with Bronny and LeBron, and that's up to Luka if he wants to stay or not. So,
excellent points all the way around, Pensman. Really, and I'll let Candy go in there, and then I'll build off what Pensman said. Go ahead, Candy. Your thoughts about the drama in Dallas pertaining to Mr. Doncic.
I think this trade stunned a lot of people, including Luka. I think was taken back because if you listen to one of the great Mavericks, Dirk Nowitzki, he said he felt disappointed and sad. He obviously didn't see this coming. So Luka actually invited Dirk to come visit him, to support him for his first game in LA. And Dirk said he felt like he needed to support him. We all forget this is a business. There's people involved that make these decisions. The best decision that they think for the team, for what they want to accomplish, whether it be I want to win now, I want to win later, I'm building, I'm rebuilding, I'm rebranding, whatever it might be. It might be that they have a certain look that they want their players. Kudos, I guess. If you're going to do that and you're going to have a look and you don't want players that whatever Luka did, if they don't like the fact that he drinks beer, I'm sorry, like I think most people at some point in their life have had beers before, but if that's not the look that they want, if they wanted to move on, kudos to them for letting their star, one of the most popular guys, not the most popular, but one of the top players, go to a team that, hey, let's face it, in LA, he's going to get he's going to share the spotlight, but he's going to get a lot of attention because that's a place where a lot of people watch. But what Dallas is doing, not exactly sure. Like JB said, I mean, didn't Anthony Davis get injured in his first game with Dallas? The first game, and he's already getting injured. But like I said, we all forget that as much as we look at it as a sport, it's a business to the owners, and they've got to make the decisions that they want to make for their business. So,
right, but they got to make smart decisions, not out of whim decisions, and that's what that sounds like.
Yeah, but you can't say that, Pensman, because they, like Candy said, they have their priorities. As fans, we could, media, we could say that they're as dumb as they can be because there's no angle you can give me that this was an intelligent decision. But, when it's ultimately done, it's their decision,
Well, I'll say this much. This move was made for the post-LeBron James is what it was. They really are. JJ Redick is smart. I got to tell you, this first year, this guy's never had any head coaching experience, but his basketball IQ is great. I'm glad he left ESPN because now JJ Redick can find out how good of a basketball guy he is, embrace the era. He does a really good job. But this move was made after LeBron James leaves. Now the transition from LeBron James to Luka Doncic will be so seamless. It is absolutely, without a doubt, ridiculously easy. That's why this move was made. And the fact that they got him for Davis, you know what that reminds me of? And I'm not a math guy again. Pennies on the dollar. All you did was trade Luka Doncic for paper mache or Humpty Dumpty. Think about it. Right? Humpty Dumpty, doesn't he always make a big fall? Of course, who am I to say I always make big falls or what happens to me? I'm on the disabled list and I get a beating, and here I am still on there with everybody out here, which I love doing it anyways. Even if I can't talk anymore, I guess I'll have to find a way to talk or whatever, although I don't have ALS right up to that point. All I have is Alzheimer's, but still. But the reality of the situation, this was made later on. J.C. Redick got the biggest gift on the planet. What were the Lakers going to do when LeBron James left? Did they have an idea who their superstar was going to be? Guess what? They do now. Any closing thoughts? I think we'll cover this topic pretty well. And the more important thing is, you mean to tell me the Dallas Mavericks didn't want to go out there and pay him $145 million of Supermax? Lakers have no problem with it. Jeannie Buss will pay her players. She has no problem paying her players, and she has no problem hanging banners in terms of retired jerseys.
Can I add that Doncic is averaging 19 points, 7.5 rebounds, 5.8 assists, and 1.5 steals in his games with the Lakers so far? And what has Davis done? He didn't return when they played each other because he is sidelined with an abductor strain.
There you go. That's a Luka Doncic story here on the Sports Exchange.
This guy, I was going to say that when LeBron leaves, Luka could be a father figure to him and teach him the steps he needs to know towards the NBA since LeBron's still young. So he can still teach him what he needs to know on the court and off the court.
Yeah, I think I want to get to Bronny another night. I'm going to leave the focus here, but
I
appreciate where you're coming. No, Penman, I appreciate you bringing Bronny up. Bronny, to me, is not an NBA player. He got in because of his daddy, and he got to LA. They orchestrated that whole situation. And we could really turn this in 10, 15 minutes. LeBron James got his son in, not like Gordie Howe and Mark Howe. By the way, for whatever it's worth, Gordie Howe and Mark Howe are both in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Ever heard of them?
Yeah, but to talk about Bronny, you have to really talk about the biggest disappointment in sports history, the defending champion Celtics, who could have totally screwed LeBron and the Lakers by taking Bronny a pick before they let him go to the Lakers. There's a feud between those two teams. It's a no-brainer. I don't like you. I'm going to take your son, and you know what? Let him go play wherever because he can't play in the NBA because I own his rights. And the Celtics proved they're weak. So
I thought that was going to happen, JB. I really did.
You know what, Joe? That really should have been a parting shot, but I'm glad you took a cheap shot instead because you're a parting shot player anyway. I loved it. That was unbelievable. This is Ellis, man. This is what this guy has become on the Sports Exchange. Every reality he does on the sideline sports deal. Unbelievable. But, that was a cheap shot, which I think was a good one. Because I actually thought the same thing as you, Joe. I really did. I was hoping Boston would take him to spite. And I was surprised that Danny Ainge didn't do it either in Utah. Yeah. If anybody wanted to screw him, why don't you do it with Utah with Ainge or the Celtics, and neither of them did?
It was disappointing. It was so disappointing.
You want to send Bronny over to Israel? You want to send him down to Australia? We'll see how badly he gets beat up in Australia. They play some good basketball down under. They really do. Australia's got a good team. I won't get into that tonight. But there's a lot of places overseas where he do, if Bronny disappear, he'll forget about you all day long. But that's okay. Right. We'll devote another night to the topic. But I'm glad that we kind of touched on it a little bit. And you know what, Penman, I'm glad you dived into it just a little. But this will be a little intrigue. Maybe we'll bring it in next week. How does that sound? Since show will be on, and we can pick this thing up a little bit further. I like the idea, though. Okay, so let's see. Brian Pettit, before we move on to the next topic, this is a must post. I think in 2 years, James will be retired from the NBA. You know what, Brian, how many bullseyes can you hit in one night? Because you just nailed it again. Bullseye number 2 for Mr. Pettit, Brian Pettit. Good stuff, brother. Keep them coming. So just so everybody knows, the Sports Exchange, my name is Scott Morgan-Roth, Motor City Man Mouth. Pleased to be joined by Candy Ebling, JB Ellis, Penson Sports, and Brian Pettit. Of course, he's our silent partner in the chat room. So, Brian, we're going to designate you the unofficial host of the show because you're putting some unbelievable material. But, Brian, while we do that, why don't you please share this show with everybody else and see if we can add some more YouTube subscribers so you'll have more company in the chat room at least tonight. But you're doing an awesome job, my friend. Spread the word around, Brian. You're a star tonight, my man. A third form of Brian Pettit. Go knock him out there, Brian. Bring them all on our network. We'll bring them all in here. Yeah, yes, I got my voice back this week, and we all know it. Right, Candy? Right, Bedman? JD,
you got it. Right. It sounds like it.
Seriously, really, I got to get those in. How many have I got? Well, I ended up seriously really now. So I got my quota of 2. All right. Fifth topic of the night, Diana Taurasi's retirement. Big WNBA stuff. I don't know why. I feel like she had Megan Price on one of these shows talk about the WNBA because I'll tell you one thing. She's really good at it, right, Joe? I know you worked with her for a period of time. Maybe one of these days we get her on the Sports Exchange. But Diana Taurasi's retirement, next thing for her is the WNBA Hall of Fame or Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. And if the Phoenix Mercury are smart, because we know they are, they have championships and all that business, they'll hang her jersey up and retire as soon as they can snap their finger. Great stuff, Brian. Glad you got it. Keep them coming, my brother. And maybe one of these days, if you're really interested, we'll bring you on here with us. We have no problem bringing in dedicated fans of the show on here and give us their viewpoints so we can see them and hear them. But right now, you are awesome, baby, as Dick Vitale would say in the chat room. So with that said, Joe, what are your thoughts about Diana Taurasi's retirement?
One of the greatest WNBA players of all time. Not the greatest, but she's up there. She's probably in the top 15. Phenomenal athlete, great player. Always played tough. I saw last night watching Sports Center the list of awards she won at UConn and in the WNBA. It's impressive. I don't follow the WNBA enough, but you know Taurasi, you know her name without a doubt, and she's one of the stars. I'm curious to see how her legacy goes based on some of the comments I think she had towards Caitlin Clark after the draft at the beginning of the season. I'm curious to see how that affects her legacy because a lot of people came into the WNBA, Yosa Clark and Angel Reese. So I'm curious to see if people don't give her the kudos she deserves because of that. But, I think she's, one of the all-time greats without a doubt.
I don't know whose side of the page all she did was play for Gino Auriemma. At last I heard he's a pretty good coach. So, Penguin.
Yeah, all the greats have to retire eventually. Michael Jordan retired. LeBron's going to retire. Brian says 2 years, but LeBron's going to retire. Barkley retired. All these players have to retire. Tom Brady retired. So she had a good career. Gino's a good coach. So I watch UConn on occasion when I was younger, but she was a good player when she was playing, and then we'll see what the next generation steps up in her footsteps.
Candy.
She is the WNBA's all-time leading scorer. She normally starts preparing for the season January 1, but she felt this year just didn't feel the same. She goes, I didn't have it in me. That was pretty much when I knew it was time to walk away. In addition to holding the league record in points, she ends her 20-year career as the leader in three-pointers and ranks fourth in assists. She holds career averages of 18.8 points, 4.2 assists, and 3.9 rebounds. She spent her entire career with the Phoenix Mercury after being selected first overall in the 2004 WNBA draft. One-time MVP, won 3 championships in 2007, 2009, and 2014. She was an all-star on 11 occasions. She also made 10 all-WNBA first teams and 4 all-WNBA second teams. She represented the United States. She won 6 Olympic gold medals in women's basketball, first joining the team in the 2004 Athens Games. She wrapped her tenure with the Team USA by winning her 6th gold medal in Paris this past summer. She's mentally and physically, she's full. It's probably the best way she can describe it. She's full and she's happy. Yes, she was on UConn and captured 3 straight NCAA championships from 2002 to 2004 and won MOP in her last 2 years with the Huskies. She also won 6 EuroLeague championships between 2007 and 2016 with Russian clubs Spartak Moscow and UMMC Edinburgh, as well as the Turkish league title in 2011. My scoring record, or the 6 gold medals, someone's going to come around that has the same hunger, the same addiction to basketball, and put those records in a different way, a different name. That's what sports is all about. That's going to be fun to watch. But she goes, hopefully it's not too soon. Kudos.
Well, Candy has all the stats. I'm only going to say one thing about it because I'm going to get the parting shots. Diana Taurasi did something that a lot of athletes don't do anymore. Play her entire career with one franchise. Don't have it no more. Period. More power to
It
Diana.
goes out on her terms.
And she went on her terms. What can I say? More power to you, Diana. I hope retirement treats you well. I have a feeling we're going to probably see you doing some broadcasts at some point. Usually a lot of athletes go into broadcasting, and Diana probably will do it. But whatever she does, the NBA definitely, you ended up help building it. Now Caitlin Clark is more or less, passing the torch to her and Angel Reese. I don't talk about the WNBA a lot, but when you have an icon like Diana Taurasi do it again, Gino Oriema, and another bullseye by Brian Pettit. Can't he put him up there? I love this guy. He's unbelievable. Gino's a great choice. Like Pat Summitt was in college. All right, you know what? There are times that you have subtopics within a topic, and we're going to do exactly that. Pat Summitt. You want to talk about a woman that helped build women's basketball. I think she's even bigger than Gino Oriema because she actually got it going, and then Gino ultimately kept it. So, Joe, what are your thoughts about Pat Summitt?
She was women's basketball. Me, back when I was growing up, who never watched the women's game, I knew who Pat Summitt was. That's how important she was to basketball. She was, she was Tennessee.
Right.
You loved watching Tennessee women's basketball as a person who enjoyed basketball, and Pat Summitt was the reason. One of the best coaches in sports. I won't even limit it to basketball. And she just built it up, and what she did was amazing.
Any thoughts?
Pat Summitt was an icon. Let's put it that way. If you didn't watch basketball, Pat Summitt was the one to get you into it when you were younger. So that's my take.
Go ahead, Candy. Good job, Brian. How do you not mention Pat Summitt on the show, especially when we're talking women's basketball?
She was a Tennessee native, was a player and head coach in women's college basketball. She played for the University of Tennessee Martin, earning All-American honors and co-captaining the 1976 U.S. Olympic team that won silver. As a coach, Summitt led the University of Tennessee Lady Vols to 8 NC2A Division I championships over 38 seasons. When she retired, and I repeat, when she retired, she held the record for most career wins in college basketball history with 1,098.
Why are we talking about Pat Summitt? Brian Pettit, great stuff for bringing it up. How valuable is the chat room? Brian Pettit obviously has shown you he's a one-man band tonight, and he's already contributed in so many ways. It's ridiculous. All right, on the parting shot. Joe, what's your parting shot?
So, Rick Pitino, what he has done to the city of New York, St. John's University, college basketball, totally turned it around. St. John's ranked number 7 in the AP and coaches poll this week. Playing Butler tonight. If they win, they clinch at least a share of the Big East Conference regular season. If Marquette loses or St. John's wins another game, they'll be the number 1 seed for the Big East tournament. It hasn't happened in so long. There's been so many empty years, when the team was led by people that were good coaches. Chris Mullen, who was a dream teamer. Mike Jarvis, who, Scott is a good basketball coach. Mike Anderson, who's a great recruiter. None of them were able to get it done. Rick Pitino, he just shows how good of a coach he is. And if you watch, and I've had the opportunity to ask him a few questions last year, you see his coaching. And the difference in the team, like things that happened at the beginning of the year don't happen now. The team grows. Zuby Ejiofor in the Baylor game missed a huge free throw. Cost him the game. He's gotten so much better at shooting free throws throughout the year. The team couldn't shoot three-pointers all year. Getting towards the end of the year, now the three-point game's in their lineup, in their repertoire. He just coaches, and you don't see that a lot. I got to give him a lot of credit for that. And great year by St. John's. Hopefully they can pull out this game against Butler tonight.
All right, well, you know what, Joe? You just gave me a reminder. Thank you very much. You realize I got to hear talk from Mike Jarvis. Let's see if we get him on the show. But I do have a quick question for you, Joe, if I'm able to do it.
Yeah.
If we needed you at 8 o'clock versus 9 and he was able to come on, would you be able to find a way to make it work?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I know. See, I got all these people reminding me of all this stuff. Just because you have Alzheimer's on me, you have a supporting cast that can help you out. All right, Pen, give me a party shot. That was good stuff, Joe. We were going to talk about St. John, but you beat me to it, so I'm glad you did. You made it current. Great stuff, Mr. Ellis. Great stuff, brother. No. All right, Pen, go ahead.
John Calipari is my party shot.
Okay.
Everybody that knows me knows I'm a huge Duke fan, but John Calipari went from Kentucky, that's up here, and Arkansas, which is down here. So you go from a big school to a small school, and they're winning right now. So going there 16-11. Arkansas, I don't think he even heard of that team until that movie that JD brought up. That's the football team, but they also have a basketball team. But Calipari, what he's doing to that program, you can't overlook what he's doing to that basketball program, and that's my party shot.
All right, Katie, let's go back to Brian Pettislay's comment and give us an update. So we're going to ride Brian all night, and he's been great enough to ride along with us. So here you go. I'm going to repeat it up there and read it. Clemson's 23-5, 15-2 ACC. Strong second half paved the way for a comfortable win over Notre Dame. 12-16, 6-11 the ACC, taking down the Fighting Irish 83-68. Well, the Fighting Irish weren't fighting today. They were fightless against the Tigers, as Ernie Harwell would say. That's my best Ernie Harwell interpretation. We're going to go to Candy Emily with her parting shot.
We knew it was just a matter of time when technology advances in all the different sports. Here we go, NFL. The NFL plans to replace the first down chains with a Hawkeye virtual measurement system for the 2025 regular season, the league announced today. The chain crew will stay on the sidelines as backup. The virtual measurement drops decision-making times 55% from an average of 75 seconds to 30 seconds. The Hawkeye system is already used in a number of other professional sports. The league approved the use of the technology last preseason, but didn't implement it for the regular season. The NFL continued its testing at the Super Bowl in February and has been working with the technology since 2021. They're also considering expanding the number of fouls that qualify for replay assist after a flag is thrown. But here's the one decision that I don't even know why they're mulling this over and they don't just make this change. Why they don't change changing regular season overtime rules to be the same as the playoffs. The regular season rules currently state that a team can win if it scores a touchdown on the first possession. So basically, whoever wins the toss for overtime, if you go down and take the ball and score, you win the game. I think they should go back to how it is in postseason, that both teams get to possess it. They both have to go down and score. If you score a touchdown, the other team has a chance to do it. And it's not just who wins the coin toss has the better chance. I'm not saying they always win it, but they have the better chance.
Pretty good. I like it. Everybody brings some good stuff to the table. I'm going to do something we don't really do often, but I'm going to do it tonight. Auto racing, but I should. Roger Penske went to Rolex 24. Won everything else. Why not that? I covered the Rolex 24. You win that race, pretty good stuff. Be able to keep a car running that many hours with so many different drivers. I love that. One of my biggest accomplishments in this industry is covering a race for the 24 hours. And I was up about 30 hours, right? Candy, 30. How many hours was I up in a row? A lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I kept walking around the Daytona International Speedway, writing a journal for every hour I was doing, put it all up there. It was unbelievable stuff. So, more power to Roger. He's from my neck of the woods. Little trivia here or information about Roger. I actually met him a couple times. He's obviously been instrumental in Detroit getting some Super Bowls. But once upon a time, when yours truly played Little League Baseball, Roger Penske had a Chevrolet dealer that sponsored a team back in my league. It was unbelievable. What a difference that Roger Penske's done. And by the way, for whatever it's worth, he owns the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as well. Roger is king of auto racing. One other parting shot. I've been looking forward to this one all week. Mike Greenberg actually decided to take off the Aaron Rodgers jersey over in the studio. So what? You know you're the biggest Jet fan on the planet. One of the reasons I can't detest that show is because all you do is talk about the New York Jets, who haven't been relevant since Joe Namath was there. But you know what, Mike? Never mentioned the Super Bowl. Wouldn't mind meeting you, taking a photo. But the real Mike I ended up enjoying meeting was Mike Golick, and Candy will have that video up on the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. I think I had like 2.5, 3 minutes with Golick. But you talk about a guy that was in Willowick, Ohio, and you're talking about a guy like me that was on Willowick Drive, and that Mike Golick and I, for whatever, are only about 17 days apart. We were born in 1962. So for all you guys, people that are subscribing to the South Florida YouTube channel, Mike Golick and I had a nice 2.5-minute conversation, one for the ages in Super Bowl 59 with my buddy JB Ellis and company. Had a good time. But JB Ellis has to I think he understood pretty quick when I was at the Super Bowl. I was like the road runner. You can't catch me even at the age of 62, right, pal? As much as I would have hung out with you a lot, I was on a roll, and you were on a roll. It was all said and done. We had a lot of fun. We have a lot of stories and all that business. So, yeah.
Yep.
So Mike Greenberg, you want to take down Aaron Rodgers jersey? Go ahead. That reminds me what the Cleveland Cavaliers burned LeBron James jersey. That to me, well, although, yours isn't as severe. All you did was take it down for your set because you're a fan. But come on, Mike. You do a little bit better than that. It wasn't Rodgers' fault that they fired Robert Saleh and the team went to the toilet when their so-called great defense amounted to paper mache or nothing. But okay, Mike, if it makes you feel better and you took down Aaron Rodgers' jersey, I hope you feel better. It doesn't matter. Have rotating jerseys, whatever. Me personally, I like First Take better in my morning with Stephen A. Smith because I learn a lot more and more from Stephen A. Smith all the time because of the way he handles his topics. And took a photo with Stephen A. And the thing I really like about Stephen A. that's grown on me is he knows when to raise his voice when he has to. But this guy is loaded with information. Stephen A. Smith has matured over time, and that's why I make it a point to watch First Take from 10 to 12 on ESPN. It's become one of my favorite programs. With that said, I've done the promoting on one show, hammered Mike Greenberg. Wasn't as bad as I hammered another person last Thursday night. We'll get into that, recap it. And, of course, Roger Penske, God bless, man. Hometown guy, winning the Rolex 24. And that's all I have to say about it. Great stuff. Candy, take us over the final station break. Then we'll get Joe and Penn's an opportunity. I know Joe wants to watch some basketball, but we've had a pretty good diet of basketball tonight. We'll see what comes across our plate next week. Go ahead, Candy. Take it from here.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. Talks about his 40-plus years in the industry, old school media versus new school media. Picture of young Scott with a young Muhammad Ali as well. Go check out the book. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there's a plethora of all kinds of other great content. There's also a link to our merchandise store. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Monday nights, we talk baseball. Tuesday nights, we talk football. Wednesday nights, you just never know what's up our bag of tricks. Thursday nights, typically we do a sports exchange that talks somewhat about hockey. So preview for tomorrow night. Check out. It's going to be talking about hockey again. And then on Fire Up, the country club, as Scott puts it, and you just never know what you're going to hear on that program. So tune in to find out. If you want to advertise, call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or you have show or topic ideas, email us southfloridatribune@gmail.com. One last note, besides all our great programming, Tuesday night, 7:30, Chicks and Salsa or Three Chicks in a Pod. Check us out. It's Chicks Talking Sports.
And by the way, Joe Ellis made that introduction to Candy and the Chicks. More power to it. But you know what, Candy? I'm not letting you off real quick. I want everybody out there to hear your introduction about Fire Up. I need it. Because Joe hasn't heard it. I hear it all the way in a different place. But come on, Candy, give us a country club to Fire Up. We need to get
it. It's not Thursday night.
Doesn't matter. It's called previewing for tomorrow, Candy. It's called Cross Promotion 101. I taught you better than that. Seriously, really, Candy. Give it to him tonight.
Oh, warm me up.
Come on, Candy. Give it to him.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Fire Up. Let's get fired up and ready for a great show. There you go, Scott.
What do you think of that, Joe? This is her show.
It was good.
Tune in Thursday nights, 9:10 p.m.
This is Candy, people. She's the one that does that show. She's earned it. Everything she touches is gold anyway. All right, Mr. Ellis, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
JB_ the program on X, sidelinesportsnet.com, sidelinesportsnet.com, the website, Candy designed, I write, Scott writes, a bunch of other people from Sideline Sports will write on there. See all our Super Bowl coverage on there and a bunch more. Big announcement coming within the next week or so for Confidential. Sideline Sports every Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you then.
All right, somebody else in the chat room, Mickey Delaney. Let's put him up there before Penman and Candy go ahead and take it back. All right, hey, Mickey, glad to have you on there. By the way, you know what's so nice about Mickey spelling M-I-C-E-K-E-Y? Not only do we have a Mickey Mouse, but we have my father's name with his first name as well. Great stuff, Mickey's. We have Mickey in the house. All right, Penman, let them know how to get a hold of you.
You can find me on X, on Pensman Sports, right here Wednesdays and Thursdays, and I have my own YouTube channel at Pensman Sports as well.
And Pensman comes on this show, and he came on Inside the Pigskin this Tuesday, did a really good job, and of course he and Candy do an unbelievable job on Fire Up. I'm not going to lose my voice. She does an unbelievable job with it. Glad to appreciate all the participation in the chat room, especially from our superstar Brian Bennett. Mickey Delaney, glad to have you in here as well. So this will end it for this edition of the Sports Exchange. On behalf of Candy Ebling, JB Ellis, and Pensman Sports, my name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange. Keep in mind, we will be releasing the Wounded Warriors show that I had on the Motor City Madmouth show out in New Orleans. Great show to watch, everybody. You'll see it on YouTube if you're subscribers, and I will put it up on all social media as well. It was an unbelievable opportunity to talk to some people, and I'm not afraid to take chances. I like to think of myself as a Brett Favre of broadcasting because I'm a gunslinger, and I have no problem mentioning a Packer guy, even though many people view me as a Lion. But I love the Packers too, just so you all know it. But Brett Favre, the gunslinger, and it will be never more evident than when you all out there and watch the Wounded Warrior show that will be on tomorrow. So on behalf of my great crew, I want to thank everybody for joining us. We'll see you next Wednesday night. Good night, everybody.
You guys all heard it. I've now got a clip. Scott loves the Packers. Good night.
I don't mind.